After going through the order for dismissal with prejudice, meaning that all of the lawsuits, all 5 of the lawsuits that were in this action that was getting ready to go to trial between Tati Westbrook, James Westbrook, their business partner, Clark Swanson, and business entities, some of which they co-own and some of which they individually own and some of which are owned by other business entities, with all of those 5 lawsuits being dismissed with prejudice, this will not be going to trial at the end of August. So we went through that dismissal. Everything is done. The parties bear their own cost. This indicates to me that there is a settlement agreement. While I was streaming, Tati Westbrook dropped a video on her YouTube channel titled Moving On, with the text on the thumbnail saying it's over. This all indicates to me that there is a settlement agreement. Settlements are confidential. Unless the parties speak about any of the terms that they're allowed to speak about, we probably won't know much about it. What we do know is that this was a contentious and wide-ranging 4 years of litigation. This all started in October 2020 with the business partner suing Tati and James on behalf of the business entity with that first line, "This is a lawsuit because of the defendant's greed." And that lawsuit had legal claims in it, but also a whole lot of shade. And that popped off the shady footnotes. It spawned multiple other lawsuits, including lawsuits with other individuals that were then tied into all of this. It was a wild and multi-state. The original lawsuit filed in California. There were lawsuits filed in Washington, and then everything was consolidated in Nevada. So 3 different states, which means for the Westbrooks and for the business partner, they would have needed counsel in California, counsel in Washington, and then counsel in Nevada. That is an extensive amount of litigation. And then we went through the pre-trial document that is filed, breaking down what the causes of action are, and there were tons of them, what the claims were, what the objections are, what the parties' positions are, and we went through the divergence of opinion on what happened with all of this. Tati and James saying that the business partner wasn't doing his job, and that's why they all decided the company should be divided 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And the business partner saying the only reason I gave up 50% ownership is because Tati promised that anything she did would be under the Halo Beauty brand, and therefore he would be entitled to 1/3 of all things in the future. That is the core of the disagreement that has now been resolved. And in Tati's video, she updates that she is stepping away from Halo Beauty, that the case was resolved by the parties getting on the phone without lawyers, which is wild to me. Also, the eve of trial changes things, right? When you are actually like looking at the money in a civil case that it's going to cost to go to trial, the eve of trial is a huge shift, and a lot of cases resolve at the eve of trial. So I'm not surprised that they settled. She said they settled. She said that she's stepping away from Halo and wishes it continued success. I don't know how that will work without her being the sales force behind it, but I guess we'll see. She is looking at relaunching Tati Beauty and talked about the perfume that we've seen mentioned in the legal documents that she is interested in moving forward with and continuing to create products. So hopefully all of the parties will just be able to move on. But I know if you guys follow Tati, a lot has happened in her life in the last 4 years. Moving and life and marriage and all of the things that she shared on her channel, but she said she is free to use her name, and then she gets into a Q&A. I'm not going to get into that, but hopefully everybody has continued success, and that's hopefully, she said she was at peace with it. Hopefully everybody feels like they can take a deep breath and move on. And that's, I mean, that's all you want at the end of a lawsuit, right? You want to be able to move on. And with civil lawsuits, it's wild because there isn't always a good resolution even after you go to trial. It's a very, very different than criminal cases. But even with criminal cases, even with convictions, family members and victims don't always feel like it's resolved. But being done allows people to move on. So hopefully being done allows people to move on. From the monuments to the gods of speculation, to the motley crew of gossips, to the washing their hair and the "this is a lawsuit because of the defendant's greed," this lawsuit is done. 4 years, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. I don't know how many hours of legal work. And, well, a lot of conversation on this YouTube channel about this case. It is finally case closed. For deep dives into the stories that I covered here, you can find them on my YouTube channel at The Emily D. Baker and The Emily Show podcast. I stream every Tuesday and Thursday. The podcast goes live on Wednesdays. And if you want to stay in the loop with everything I'm doing, receive the fastest notifications out there, and get more Law Nerd community, join me at lawnerdapp.com, our free app for iOS and Android.